Welcome back, everybody, to the Rundown Podcast presented by Rebel Underground Network. We are your hosts, Rebel Underground, Coherent,
AJ.
And today we got a special guest, None Illa. I'm going to hype him up a little bit. He's a dope-ass cat, man. I've seen him on Facebook, met him mainly through that, but he just spits the truth. He is not afraid of offending you, but he's spitting like game the entire time, and he really knows his shit about the music industry and whatnot, and he's a really dope MC himself, and we'll get to talking about some of the things he has coming up. We got a few other topics, too. We want to talk about Kanye's presidential bid. We want to talk a little bit about authenticity as an artist, and then we're just going to spit some game, like some serious game today, because None Illa that's kind of his forte, and he does it on his platform. Let's Talk Music. So let's talk music, and let's talk about your music first, None Illa. Talk to us about your musical journey, who you are, what's influenced you, and kind of what you got out and what's coming out.
Introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, babe. I go by None Illa. I started off just having a love for music. I still have a love for music, but it started off as I did poetry when I was younger, and I had moved down from the Bay, from the Oakland area, to San Diego due to some troubling times and stuff, and I just kind of ended up getting into poetry. And then after school activities and stuff got me into just freestyling, playing around, and I realized I was kind of good with it. And from there, I got into the battle scene, and I lost my first battle, and I stayed undefeated afterwards. And I'm like, well, maybe I should write a little bit. So I got heavy in the artist side and worked with a bunch of like family, and was just doing things as when you're becoming MC, you just do whatever, any kind of beat, you just be an artist.
Yeah, remixes, whatever.
You're doing everything. You're rapping in cyphers. You're doing that to just push the limit for your love for rap.
Get your name, get your rep. Yep.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if you're not getting for clout, you just getting your name out there. From there, I just realized I love music so much more than just artistry, and I realized there was so much artists don't know. And I dove into like the business side, and I just kept diving, and then here we are now. I have a good amount of music. I have people who tap me on my shoulder and be like, yo, when you drop more music, because if you ever track my history, you'll be like, oh, there was a stint of you not really releasing things, not even realizing I'm sitting with like hundreds of songs. It's just kind of one of those things to, it's like, what's priority, impacting the culture or just dropping some fire bars? And I'm in an impacting the culture and helping people move, which they kind of spoke at the fact that I know a little bit about the business, and I do what I can to help it contribute as much as possible. That's a little bit about me. Give a quick little summary right there.
Hell yeah, I love that. Most definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that too. I can see that progression, and like I just feel like during that little hiatus that you were talking about, you were just sitting there learning. You know what I'm saying? You getting more polished, learning the ins and outs of the business, just doing those little things that you need to do. Okay, when I step back in, I'm gonna fucking make some noise.
Hell yeah.
What happened was I went and got my bachelor's in music business, did a stint of being at the labels, and just I never stopped working with music. That's the thing. A lot of people see what's out from an artist, and they think people stop working on music. A lot of the biggest people in the industry, even though they're not in artist mode, they're doing so much major stuff behind the scenes that it's like you never stop. If you're in the industry, you don't stop. You just figure out which lane you can contribute to the most. So while I was getting game, I still was in studio sessions. I'm still working with artists on a regular, still working with producers on a regular. It just all kind of, it's full circle, man. Like when you love it as much as I do, you don't ever take your foot off the gas. You just kind of keep changing lanes on the freeway.
Right. And yeah, man, I agree. Like I feel like a lot of the best artists, especially the ones that are constantly, working on something, you don't have to let the world know, like, hey, don't worry, I'm still, I never stop. But sometimes you gotta, pull back a minute, get shit going, keep shit going on the low, you know what I mean? And just keep making moves, and then boom, just start hitting people with just everything you've been working on a constant basis, So yeah, no, I agree, man. A lot of us independent artists, take that time, we keep we work at our own pace, basically. You feel me?
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. And with independence, you have that ability. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to meet certain quota on this, and you don't got to really. You can do what you did and sit back and just learn and really just perfect your craft and then go back at it. So I admire that, man. I think it's a good idea. Sometimes you just gotta, just do something a little different. Okay, this isn't necessarily working how I want it to do. Let's replan, and get a different program going and build from that. But speak to us about your new single, because even though you took a little bit of a hiatus, like you're dropping some shit, and I checked out this new single, "A Word with God." Talk to us about that.
Well, so "A Word with God," I'll give you guys a background exclusive information on "A Word with God." "A Word with God," I had linked up with one of my main producers by the name of Matic, and that was one of the producers who, when I linked up with him, I was mentoring him, and he's just so gifted. And it initially was called "Dear God," but I wrote it a couple years back. It's just that when I write, when I write, it's so relevant, there's not a time limit on it. You know what I mean? So
right. It's time.
I was in the process of setting up a "Dear God" 2. And then as things happen, like I let a couple people in the industry and a few other people hear it, and it was ready. I kind of felt like it was a time. I let it out before this coronavirus stuff happened, before all this violence and things started happening, before the police brutality.
Yeah.
I mean, what's been going on, but before it hit the level it's at
Right.
now in the current state. And I just put it out there. It wasn't with intentions to promote, to push as a single, and it grew legs on its own. And then I started getting hit up a lot, like in inboxes and stuff, saying, "Yo, this is a really relevant message for today." And I'm kind of laughing because I'm like, oh, like they don't know the background story, they don't know the history of it, and I'm like, dope. And then I'm dropping a video tomorrow that I ended up whipping up for it. And the thing is that I didn't have intentions of putting a video. Like I said, I really wanted to put it out there because the message was needed. The message was powerful. I felt it's time to speak truth, and instead of just trying to do what's popular and get that out there. And so the request, the buzz behind it, the need for a video, I whipped something up that I figured is going to come along the same lines of impacting the culture. Because honestly, there's a few people afraid to speak out. A lot of people are chasing the quick money, not realizing like you have to stand on your ground, and you have people watching you, following. Like you really need to make a statement in whatever way you can, whatever platform you use. And this was a statement, like, it's kind of a very intimate, vulnerable one, because I'm talking to God. Like, yeah, the people are listening, but this is a word with God. I'm speaking to him through the music, and you guys are just listening to the conversation.
Nice. Yeah. No, I've heard the track. I'm really excited to see the video. But this is definitely one track that stands out amongst your catalog. And so I'm glad you received, the recognition for it, and people are really like catching on to it, because it does deserve that for sure. I got a question though. Me and AJ, we're conscious MCs too, man. We're not afraid to speak the truth. Like,
for sure.
We have tons of music that is conspiracy ridden and just like some woke ass shit. Do you think conscious music is gonna make like a comeback, or are we gonna see more, inauthentic stuff? Really making waves into the next decade.
It's kind of a double-edged question,
right?
Because conscious music never went anywhere.
Well, I mean, like, as far, will it become popular music?
Well, that's what I was about to segue into right now. It never went anywhere, but it becoming popular music, it's hard because of the way where music is going. Like music, before you needed platforms that bunched the popular songs together. Now you are really winning when you get more to your niche, right? Yep. So now it's not just rap. Now it's rap, emo rap, underground emo rap. Like you got to go so far in your niche that when you're winning, it doesn't matter if you're popular, because your target market has glued into it and you still can be winning. So it might not hit the mainstream platforms, because you know, if it's radio, you got 6 songs on rotation, and honestly, if you're in rotation, who you are has a huge part in that. Like independent is hard to be in that main rotation, and if you're speaking something to where you can kind of wake some people up, as people call woke or whatever, like it's not going to get that much buzz because it's no longer a record label world. Like there's no longer one big industry that can put the money behind it and push. You have way too many like marketing platforms, other media platforms, and those are people who cater to their audience, and they're not going to allow that to hit the forefront. There's too many algorithms to keep it suppressed. So it's a difficult scenario. Like, is it going to become popular? Only way it's going to become popular is if if you hit that niche, but not to mention if you have a conscious platform that dominates. You're going to need something that automatically agrees with the message, that steps in the forefront, because otherwise it's going to get pushed down because it's not what the masses want to hear. And if that becomes popular, that kind of music is transforming, you know, so you might change
like
people's opinions. You're going to change people's opinion. It's going to change their buying actions. Like it's a domino effect. So the chances of it hitting the top is a rarity, but you do have the ones that sneak through the cracks and get a buzz behind them. But the only thing about that is when that happens, everyone else feels like, oh, there needs to be more music like this, even though it's like there's so much more.
Right.
You know, and
there is.
Like,
and I think that's what makes it rare within itself. That's what makes conscious is very rare, but there's so much of it, but you have to dig and find it. Like if you're just an average listener to music, you know what I mean? You have to dig for these things, and like, you know what I mean? You might hear one song by, for Jordan Lucas example, and it was a conscious song, and then the next song he drops, it's fucking, it's partying, and you know what I mean? It's like, okay.
Well, you look at, I was actually going to say Jordan Lucas before you said something, so it's funny. So perfect example was that I'm Not Racist, right? Yeah. Now, as a person who makes music like that, and I listen to all kind of music, we know that's not the first kind of song like that, right?
Right.
But the buzz behind that, and reason why that kind of exploded, is Joyner Lucas is a genius with visuals. That visual really triggers some things.
Yeah. He's a genius, period.
Yeah, he's definitely a genius. But he like, if you didn't know Joyner Lucas and you just listen to his songs, you might be like, yo, he's dope. But if you watch his videos, you're like, man, who is this guy? Like, how did he think of that? It's a different effect for people who aren't just auditory learners and listen that way. But that I'm Not Racist has such a domino effect. It impacted a lot of people. There was a lot of reactions to it, right? Like a lot of reaction videos, so that triggered buzz. A lot of top MCs kind of were like, well, Twitter. A lot of MCs were like, well, I got to make my response, and you know, they did it. And then, not to mention, it got him on tour with Chris Brown. So you go on a tour with Chris Brown, you're not going to rap with conscious music. You need to have some kind of thing. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Yeah. Once your song explodes and people say they want more, they don't say they want more because they actually do. It's because in their mind, they're thinking they want another I'm Not Racist. You know, they want another hit conscious song. Because as soon as you feed it to them, they're like, yeah, I need to go back to something that, you know, I need to go back to the other stuff I listen to. So it's a never ending cycle. But, you know, one of the practices I believe in is the 1,000 true fans. You know, if you get you 1,000 true fans who buy your merchandise and really support you, you're already winning.
Yep. That's something I've signed up for a lot of like email newsletters and stuff that give tips and shit like that, and they said, man, that's really what you need. You need 1,000 true fans, hardcore, who are gonna buy your merch every time it drops, and you can live off that. You know what I'm saying? If you have
1,000 people spend $100 with you a year, right? That's $100,000. It's pretty simple. It's a lot of thought to get that 1,000 true fans, like, but
it takes building, man.
it takes a lot of building, and it takes I mean, we're in a place to where you kind of have to be transparent as artists, as much as you don't want to, you don't want to be. People need to connect with you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And,
Well, let me ask you. I do got
it.
a question, None Ill. I feel like there's a lot of artists, and you could see that they start to see that this type of thing works. So I feel like they use the conscious route because they know it's going to cause controversy, and then they're like, hey, this is actually working. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily what they feel, but they're like, hey, if I speak on this topic, maybe that'll get me more fans, and then they start seeing it. Do you feel like there's a lot of artists, like, for example, like Tom McDonald, the Grizzy Hendrix, do you feel like they use conscious rap just to get ahead, or do you think that's really how they feel when they're speaking?
there's a line that Joe Budden said in the song, and I try to apply it, and I think about it a lot. He said, people say that I'm a walking contradiction. I tell them people learn every day. So it's kind of like it's hard to tell, right? I feel you can become more educated as you're going. So sometimes there is authenticity in the conscious song being made. And then I also know, like, sometimes you have to dive into a deep, dark space to write about stuff that's not exactly like party, uplifting, and an escape for your listener. Right. Sometimes I feel that's a thing too, so people only do it here and there. But just like with everything, I know there's for sure are people who are just trying to take advantage of what's buzzing. The difference is it's hard to tell who's doing what. But it'll kind of show in their lifestyle behaviors. Yeah. Like me, I learn. I love to learn. I'm a positive person. I really try to stay away from negativity as much as possible. It's around you, but when I do encounter negativity, I'm so positive I'm gonna bounce back from it. But my passion for music, my natural passion of wanting to see people win, people stumble on my post, and I did my MOKs, I post my moments of knowledge. I did that for 7 years straight. One day I did it every day. One time I did it every week. Like I had 7 years straight. I had over 1,300 posts of positivity. No one asked me. Sometimes I had 1 like, sometimes I had no like, sometimes I had 100 like. Like it was just me exuding positive energy. Now, if you go to my post, even after when I kind of stay consistent with that, saying you're never going to see a post of me saying, F this, hate y'all, hate that. Like, it's not like I changed the person who I am. I'm just not focused on that message right now because I'm doing other stuff. But to me, if someone is speaking that in their music, when you do conscious stuff, like, I feel like people should kind of still be learning from you, even when it's not in your song. Like, people should still be kind of seeing what's going on, like the stuff going on, stuff that happened with George Floyd. Are you like all of a sudden ignorant to it and acting like it doesn't exist, and yet you have conscious music? Like, your audience should pick up on it without you having to say, this is what I do. Like, I don't have to go and say, hey, I'm interested in music. Right. I never have to tell anyone that.
Your voice should resonate 100% of the time.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? 100%. Like, that shit shouldn't fade away when shit gets real.
Yep.
That's what you're saying. So yeah, no, I feel that 100%. When the whole George Floyd, me and AJ have been talking about this shit in our music for years, and then when that shit came and happened, we were on Facebook doing what people were doing, sharing memes, talking about it, having open dialogue, and sharing other people's excellence, Black excellence, man, and just waking people up to this systematic oppression and stuff. So yeah, no, we talked about that. We talked about how hip hop's message has been appropriate for the most part, and hip hop's message has always been appropriate because the whole fucking genre of music is based off that conscious element of oppression and breaking out of it, and entrepreneurial spirit and that kind of message. So I think hip hop's been appropriate, and I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head. Some people are going to take advantage of it, but I think a lot of it is authentic. I think most people are authentically concerned about what's going on and want to express how they feel, because that's what hip hop is. We express how we feel in musical form, and I think a lot of it is authentic. But that goes into our next thing. How important is it in the music industry to be authentic? Does authenticity get kind of shunned? And when you think about like cats who I would consider authentic, like a J. Cole, a Kendrick Lamar, obviously there is space for that, but where's the industry kind of headed in your eyes? Do you think gimmicks are still a huge thing in this, or are we seeing authenticity come back as well?
It's so hard because I even think some of the gimmicks are authentic, and I say that because you know hip hop is such a new genre that it is always a target, right? But me, I like to, and especially because I do a lot of marketing, I tend to look outside and compare everything, right? So let's take masks for instance, right? Lady Gaga is a perfect example. What do people know about Lady Gaga's personal life? Not too much, right? She used to wear all the meat dresses and everything she used to do, that was the topic. But when she took that off, she went home and she lived her life. There's some artists who do the same thing, but in the form of their flashiness, right? So you like, oh, he just got a new Bentley, he just got a new this, he just got that. But they're using that as their talking points, and then they step off and go live their life. And sometimes they're using that as a way to project their riches because they know they grab their certain audience. A lot of people fail to realize that the one thing about music is your storytelling. Now you decide what kind of book you're writing, right? You decide if you want to have it to where it's a magazine, it's short, sweet, to the point, not enough words, but you get the point flipping through pictures, or you decide if it's a best-selling novel and you need to go deep with that audience. The thing is, like I said, it's happening in other genres. The question is, when it comes to being authentic, is where are you on that platform, right? Because you can rap about riches and be broke, and that's not authentic for you. You're completely like not there. Yeah. But Jay-Z talking about you just bought a $3 million watch. It's like, yeah, he's speaking the truth, you know? So the level you're getting, the platform you're on, depends on your approach with it, you know, your authenticity. So that's just like I think Lil Wayne said something about it wasn't a black cop that saved him or something, like, and people were mad about the fact that he was saying cops' lives matter, or however he put it. I'm not gonna give the specific quote, but it's like that works for him. He's a black rich male that had a different experience than other people in Louisiana. So I think self-reflection of authenticity, your personal experience of authenticity, it's hard to judge someone else's because of where they are. There's people who are faking it in every aspect of music. You know, it just all depends on that specific individual. It's like Eminem speaking about his hardships in Detroit as a white male versus a white suburban male who's rich jumping into the game. Like, thinking they can have the same exact song thinking they're Eminem, but it's not authentic to them.
Right.
And yet they both can be criticized by the exact same light to a black male sitting on the other side watching. So it's kind of like, it's such an ongoing debate, because the one thing about the core of hip hop was storytelling, self-expression, telling your background, what you came from. So who am I to say out here on the West Coast what some guy in the Midwest or New York or Jamaica or someone in London personally experienced when they projected it through their music? Like, I might not rap about riches, I might not rap about money, like, just because that's not my interest. But when it comes to how my bank account looks, that doesn't need to be portrayed in my music. When it comes to my location, you know what I mean? Like, It's just personal preference and how they choose to address themselves. The only thing that I see since where the gimmicks and that kind of lies is where people are catering their music outside of their regular interests to gain an audience. That's where I feel authenticity lacks. Like, I feel like that's where it comes in the most, not lacks, but that's where I think that's the only way to really assess it, because otherwise it's kind of like, it's a huge he say, she say battle, what you know versus what you don't know, judging based on your assumptions, and then it's kind of like, well, we're back to square one. You know, who can pull whose card? Like, if you know someone personally and go, yeah, you're not like that, that's the only time you really can check that. But the majority of people you listen to, you don't know what they're dealing with.
Right. Yeah, no, I think definitely we assume too much. We're all guilty of that, and what's authentic. But I do agree with you, man. When you hear these shitty mix songs from these SoundCloud rappers who are just talking about fucking bitches and getting bank, like, it's just like, it's not working for you, dude. Like, nobody believes that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, yeah, there is a level you got to get to where you can kind of flaunt, and yeah, you can say that's an authentic lifestyle, but definitely if you're underground, don't speak something that comes from your heart, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't,
and when you're an artist,
don't necessarily need to make a song about money and sex and drugs and all that to blow up. You really don't. There's plenty of artists that have done great stuff making conscious music, or not even making conscious music, but just making good feel music.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of different ways. So don't, just be real to yourself. And it's important in hip hop to be real to yourself.
But I also feel like, you know, when you're an artist, like people can feel it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want people to feel that shit that you're speaking about. Not everybody, but like, when you're a real artist and you do hip hop and you speak on what you speak on, and you just want to spread your message and hope it gets across to everybody, you know what I mean? It's all about, like you said, taking the time and just being comfortable with yourself. Because when you're comfortable with yourself, people can hear that. They can see that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can see the difference between a rapper it's like stage performing. It's like performing. You can see the difference between a guy who's all over fucking the place, rapping over his lyrics. You know what I mean? It's all sloppy versus a guy who's in sync with everything and just boom, been doing this for years. You can see the difference. So when you do it like from the heart, people are gonna feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's a huge part of authenticity.
If you love it, this goes back to what we just talked about. It's going to show in your life. Like, to me, if all you do is rap about gangster shit, the moment, like, if you've never held any kind of gun, if you've never been in a situation to where you really got to have some stuff going on, if you happen to get a fan base, if you happen to get any kind of audience and that's what you project, you're going to get tested in those situations to react based on what you keep saying you react. And so
be tested.
You know that's going to happen. It's the same thing with Richie. You talk about how much you have it and all the bottles and stuff you pop. When you're in the club, you think people are going to expect you to have the VIP tables. People are going to expect you to have the extra bottles brought over because this is what you talk about. So it's like, if that's what you're projecting, you know, that's kind of, people get caught up in the fake it till you make it situation. You know, they get caught up in that idea. And it's kind of a borderline issue anyway, because one of the biggest things that has kind of been the model for music, and especially a male artist, is there's 3 things a male artist really need to be. You need to either be the guy that everyone wants to be, the girl that everyone wants, or someone that everyone hates because of their success, right? So it's kind of like most people try to fall into that. And in the urban culture, in the Black community, in the hip hop community, it's a huge flaunting. Like, you kind of like, you feel like you're not established until you have something to show materialistic, you know, until you go, oh, I got this icy chain, like, but not realizing the wealthiest people aren't showing that. Like, they're walking around in khakis and a polo shirt with millions in the bank. So it's like, it's just perception.
Yep, definitely. So let's get into kind of the more polarizing topic.
For sure.
Kanye West is running for president, y'all. He has kind of announced a bid, and he announced that in like 2016.
Yeah, he announced it a while ago.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of funny. One of my friends in college, when he announced that, he went and he bought the URL to Kanye for President 2020, and I bet he's about to sell that shit. Like, low key.
That's funny.
But anyway,
that's funny.
He's about to eat.
He's being pretty legit because he has spoken about this. He is talking about it. He's doing interviews about his platform, and I don't know if you guys have checked out his platform, but he's talking a very conservative platform.
Not a fan.
He's also pro Wakanda, anti-China, and very, like I said, conservative, anti-abortion, anti-vaccine, which is whatever. But
That's
is
not
he
whatever.
is he a legitimate candidate? What do you guys think?
Okay. Are you asking, could I see him running for 4 years, or can I see him being voted in? Or just in general, so is he actually like a reputable candidate?
Yes, is he a reputable candidate? Is he somebody we should actually consider over Biden and Trump?
I'd prefer if he didn't run. And I say that because the fact that we have to debate on it, and the fact that people are even going back and forth on it, what's going to happen is it's probably going to increase the likelihood of Trump getting selected, because anyone who's on the fence, anyone who's voting for Trump, diehard Trump, they're voting for Trump. The chance of swaying their vote is going to be a hard one. Anyone who's on the fence and kind of like, I don't know, and knows Kanye's previous affiliation with Trump might sway Kanye a little bit. Anyone who was going to vote for Biden, they're still on the fence about Biden. If you bring another factor into it who kind of grabs the audience who might go for Biden, then they're going to vote for Kanye potentially, which is going to split votes from Biden. So it's like, it's scary that, you can do anything with money. Look at the current president. So I think Kanye can for sure throw the money in the bag, get the right promotions, get in front of the right audience, get the right ads to constantly plug his name in to where when it's time to vote, he gets it written in the ballot. Or if I don't know if he's still eligible to be included on the ballot because of how late it is. But that is something to where that's more worrisome for me. Like,
he's stealing votes.
If Kanye really wants to run for president, like he really feels his policies are down pat, I'd rather him run in 2024. He can get his stuff together. He can get consistent. He can show that this is what he wants to do. He can learn some stuff. And another thing is Kanye hasn't been too consistent. Like, think of Kanye every year there's a different phase of Kanye happening. And there's different people who like Kanye at different stages. I'm not sure I would feel comfortable with him sitting there for 4 years. Kanye gets bored easy. Like,
real.
That button will be super tempting.
He might just start something just to start it.
And like Kanye might, like, there might be certain things to where like his views and stuff are really good as far as like running, certain stuff with the arts, certain stuff with money, stuff like that. But Kanye couldn't even operate and hold down good music. Do you think he should run over a bunch of politicians? Do you think he should be leading war decisions? Like, that was music, and he had good talent on his roster that people actually wanted to hear, and he couldn't be successful all the way with it. Why would he be a person going to different countries and dealing with war politics and calling off what the troops should do? Like, it's just, it's deeper than that. It's kind of like, to me, it's nice, I feel like every time we have a president, it's good to have a person we like, but we don't find out what most presidents do until they're out of office, or what happens to different policies. Like, like there's presidents we liked, like whether it was a Bill Clinton or whether it was an Obama, but truth behold, the majority of people who like stuff don't know anything they signed off on, don't know when it came in. Like, to me, I found out stuff about presidents I like that make me go, whoa, so you impacted cultures, you got people in prisons, and and you just kind of like, okay, that changes the whole ball game, all because they knew how to wear a smile, sounded good in interviews, dressed fresh. It's kind of like, I don't necessarily know I want to put that pressure on Kanye. Like, and then not to mention what, there's still the hope that we get a good Kanye back musically, right? Like, what is that going to do for music?
Hey, no, that's a good point.
You want to be president now? We need some more. We need Ye. We need that college dropout Ye back. You know what I'm saying? But
the struggling Ye.
Yeah, the struggling Ye. So to me, and then not to mention, like, do we really see Kim Kardashian and the Kardashian family, like first lady and first family? Like, there's certain power. I'm just kind of confused if you want to give it to people, because it just wouldn't be, I have a lot of thoughts of what I would do when I could push a red button, but it's different when you can actually push the red button.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Not thinking about
It's different when
you.
you're actually in office.
Yeah,
You
it's
think you
different.
want to be president,
Yeah.
but watch.
Yeah.
Like you driving on the road right now, you have road rage. You're like, oh, what I would do if I could do this. Now, what?
And then what
when you
happens if the
have-
dude
yeah,
pulls over?
exactly. What happens if you have full disposal and resources to everything? Like you're not everybody deserves that level of power. You know,
Yeah.
like right now, I think Trump is talking about. He was talking about shutting down Twitter because he don't like their opinion. I think he's talking about banning TikTok because it's a China-based app, and it's kind of like that's such a minor thing for presidents to worry about, but you have the power to do it. So showing that you have the power to shut down stuff. You know, hold on.
It's all good.
My bad, y'all. My line started ringing. Yeah,
No,
you
it's
have the power. You're showing you have the power to do stuff. And
Yeah.
to me, like that kind of, not everyone deserves that power. That can be easily messed up, and I'm not too for it because of what it can do as far as the split of the real vote.
Okay.
Yeah, and you
AJ.
can strictly see like the way they use the power. It's almost like, yeah, I can do it, and what if I do it? What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
So, first things first, I feel like experience is everything. All right, we should not be given, like you said, power to a person who's not a politician, who's
Yep.
not had the experience, had an actual debate against anybody worth mentioning in the politician world. And another thing, we're talking about a dude with different mood swings and shit. One day he feels like
Yep.
this, another day he feels like this. You know what I mean? One day he'll probably be like, you know what, fuck everybody, we're just gonna blow up the world.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And not
That's
maybe
the
not
thing.
that extreme, but it's also like this is a celebrity. Same thing with Donald Trump.
We got Black Trump with
But-
Kanye. That's
Yeah.
pretty much
Exactly.
what it is, bro.
Well, the difference is too. I mean, the thing about Trump previously, right? Many people knew Trump because he was rich. Like he had a lot of money.
And
But
his
Trump
TV show.
never. Yeah, he had a TV show too, but he wasn't. Trump just wasn't that person always speaking to the general public, right? He wasn't that. Kanye has been,
Yeah.
and Kanye will let you know before he even has power. You can't tell me what to do. He said that plenty of times, like I'm going to do what I want. Why would he be allowed a power to where he literally can do what he wants? Like it's
Right.
different to when you say it,
Mhm.
but when you actually can make those calls, you know, like you can't do much. Like if he's on a network, if he's on a TMZ, if he's on a Revolt or MTV and he's saying something, they can cut him off the air. But when you're president, you take over every network at every speech. You know,
That's
it's
what
kind
I'm
of like,
saying. If we have a president, it should
Yeah.
not be a celebrity,
Special report.
a
Kanye.
person. You know what I mean? Here's the thing: it's different if Kanye actually took the time, had past politician experience. You know what I mean? Actually, you know, done things outside of music, which he probably has, but it doesn't necessarily relate to being president. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, the thing with Donald Trump is popularity. That's the only. Everybody was like, we ain't never had a president like this. Let's get him in office. And now,
You know what?
at least 50% of people who voted for Donald Trump regret it now. And
It's
that's
not
what I'm
even-
talking about.
There's only one good thing about Trump being in office. The one good thing about, or not being in office, but the one thing about Trump's personality is he's too arrogant and too inexperienced to be a politician.
Yeah.
So he doesn't filter himself.
I feel like he's a great actor.
He's a great actor, that for sure. But I feel like most politicians, even if they have the same beliefs he does, they don't say it. He has no problem. He has no problem not realizing he should use a filter. And it works in his favor because you do have the extremists who vote for him, right? You have the extremists who feel those ways, and that keeps his votes up and whatever. But I feel like in general, it's not really. It's been a hell of a run. It's been a hell of a time seeing what happens when you put that president in. I
Right.
feel like America's been in one of the worst in one of the greatest states it's been in a while. Like I feel
Yeah.
like the entrepreneur is at a whole different level of bubbling and understanding, especially you see it a lot in the hip hop and entertainment industry, like because so many people had to fend for self and you just see so many prospering.
Mm-hmm.
But in the sense of like all the pandemics, all the other outcries happening, like the things to where it's kind of like, we need your help now, and he doesn't offer it, it's kind of like, wow. Like, yeah, I'm not saying coronavirus couldn't have happened with any president, but our reaction is some of the worst in the world. Like, to me, that speaks volumes, because we have to follow what the leader says. We're not in a position to change things from our levels.
But I feel like that goes back to what you brought up earlier, the analogy of if you have road rage, you could say, oh, what would I do? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I feel like it's the same thing with Donald Trump. He's all about talking about it, but when it comes down to actually shit going down, it's like, oh, all right, I didn't think it was going to get like this.
Yep.
Or there's certain things as well, because what was also mentioned was the fact of how we don't know certain artists, and like how it goes back to authenticity. That's the same thing with people who are on television and politicians. We don't really know these people. We've never had a one-on-one conversation with this person.
Right.
So you have a person like Donald Trump who's been on television and is, celebrity, and he's known for having money. That's all we know. Now you got all this shit coming out about him. That's factual proof, proven information, signed, all documented. But everybody's like, man, they're not taking it as serious as they really should, because now we know what kind of president we have. Now we know what kind of person he is. And now it's like, so what, nobody cares?
Well, not to mention, it goes with the whole too late. Like what, like your opinion, your opinion, to get it to where it impacts and removes the president is damn near impossible, but to get it to where like he actually listens is impossible too. So it's kind of like, I don't think it's a lack of caring, but it's like, he's the president, it's kind of like, if he was just somebody running a business, maybe we could make his business tank, but it's like, he's the president. You can't, it's hard to fully impact
millions
on a level,
millions of people.
Yeah, it's hard to impact on a level to where you can do something, and then it's a big clusterfuck, honestly. Yeah. But it's just one of those, like, especially with some of the other stuff that's coming out, with the deeper issues. We're not gonna bring that one on here, but some of the stuff that's happened, some of the recent Netflix specials and stuff like that, that he's being on, stuff of the stuff Anonymous had brought out, but that's a whole different rabbit hole. So I'm not gonna even bring that up. But the point is,
we could go there. Don't worry
exactly.
about it.
But the point is,
the right people.
I'm saying it's a rabbit hole because that's a whole different. That's like a whole 2-hour conversation.
Yep.
Let me get into a rabbit hole with Kanye, in my opinion, because it is a rabbit hole. First, I want to say though, I would love to see a hip hop president. Daylight actually released a video not too long ago. He says, you know, black people and just general audiences, they don't listen to presidents. You know what I'm saying? How many people just tune out Donald Trump? A lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Who do people listen to? They listen to rappers in their music. And even when they speak, look at Vlad's videos and all that. These rappers speak out on this and that. Those get tons of views. Now, who are some legitimate candidates? Killer Mike, maybe. T.I. I would love to see a Nas, maybe.
It's hard though, because once again, it all depends on perspective, right? So people listen to rappers, yes, but the majority of the time they listen to rappers, it's because it's from a peer perspective. It's from a guidance. It's from like a, hey, this is educating you guys. Hip hop fans don't like authority. It's not just the president. If you put a rapper in a presidential spot saying you have to do this, all of a sudden no one's gonna give them the same respect as they did when they're like on a panel being asked questions and friendly and kind of educating in that nature.
They have a lot more weight to their.
Yeah, they have more weight. Like if you have like when T.I. and them were leading some of the protests and stuff right before about like certain restaurants and things like in Atlanta. It was like, yo, show up here. They did us wrong. We need support. Of course, people are going to show out, one, because T.I. is there, but two, it's like, okay, we're asking this. But if that same T.I. said, y'all should stay in the house, you have to. You just told me what to do, right?
Yeah.
You're no longer the cool parent. I'm grounded now. So it's not going to be the same. That same rapper that got that same respect, all of a sudden is going to be called everything outside of the book. They're no longer going to get the same support because of the position change.
No, that's a good point. I'm just saying I would like to see one, just because I think it would be pretty interesting for our culture.
Not Kanye West.
But I don't think they're legitimate candidates really either. Now here's my thing about Kanye. Okay, I think people are quick to forget the fucking stupid shit that this guy has done.
He has said multiple things that are suspect.
Hold up. Yeah. Okay, one, he said slavery was a choice. Okay, number one. Okay, two, he has literally had a picture of him wearing a bomber jacket with a Confederate flag on the fucking right there. Okay, so you're already getting mixed fucking messages from this guy. I don't like that. Number two, he is a class A narcissist. Class fucking A. Okay, he is Donald Trump, black version, basically. Yeah. They both have that same narcissistic energy, think that they have this kind of God complex, that everything they do is genius. They're the same type of people.
Dude has his own Bible.
Yeah, like,
whoa.
Oh, did you see that shit?
He has his own Bible.
Some fans made like a Kanye Bible. No, he didn't write it. Somebody else wrote it for him. But
yeah, it was a fan made.
No, I'm saying,
but still, he personifies this God complex type shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And he says he's a god.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem. That's my thing. That's the only reason why I say, not yay. Inconsistency is real. Right. Because some of his old messages are different than what his current messages are. You know, and he kind of just. Once again, it's different when you like the person, when you listen to their music, when you can kind of just say, okay, he's going through a phase. Right. But you don't want that kind of inconsistency running your life. And I'm sorry, but like, it's on a worldwide impact, on a global impact. What he does here to us is one thing, but what he does when he leaves the country, and that's both either attacking or doing something ignorant in another country, or fueling them to where they feel they need to attack or do something ignorant to us, it's not worth the risk. It's not worth just to say, yeah, because Kanye is president. Like, it's not. Kanye is such a small chess piece in this game.
Yeah.
And
but I think that's a good point, though. I think Kanye is a chess piece in the game.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And here's why I think that. Okay. If Kanye was some legitimate rogue runner of the presidency, there's no way that they would let this guy fucking even make these claims, okay? Look who's been knocked off. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Tupac, Nipsey Hussle. Those are legitimate fucking people that have really done shit for the black community and probably would, change the world type shit, okay? Kanye is an entertainment ploy. He's exactly what Trump is. He's a TV Hollywood music star.
Oh, believe me, he's got somebody telling him what to do as well.
Exactly. And not only that, if we're going to go into the wormhole of the Illuminati and all that shit, he did make an album with Jay-Z. He's fucking married to Kim Kardashian. There's no way that this guy is a legitimate rogue guy who's going to come into office and fucking save us. There's no way. He is
everything
exactly what you mentioned earlier. He is a ploy to distract the vote away from it, so Trump is going to win again in 2020.
Everything Kanye does has a shock value to it. And you can't have shock value when you're a leader and everyone's looking at you. There's no longer room for shock value.
Right, you have to be very conservative and careful.
Yeah, Kanye is a marketing genius because he knows how to trigger reactions to where he gets. He
knows how people think.
Yeah, he knows how to get human reactions. Either him or someone connected to him knows psychology, right? He knows how to trigger
the entertainment industry has taught him this.
Yeah,
because they use mass psychology on us every fucking day.
For sure, but he's next level, so he actually knows psychology outside of just entertainment. Like, because he is in the art world, he's in the fashion world, he knows how to piss people off. But with everything, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's a racial disclaimer, whether it's whatever, when you piss people off, whether it's the same thing with a hit doesn't come from people feeling mediocre about it. You either have to hate it or love it. That's the only way you ever hit. So he knows how to get shock value. People, not too many people feel whatever about Kanye. A lot of them are on either side. They either hate the guy or love the guy.
Right.
So, you know, he knows how to get a reaction. And because of that, even this, he's in conversation right now. Before he even said something, he said it in 2016, but before he said something these last couple years, he just pops up here and there with whatever the controversial item is at that moment. People weren't talking about Ye a couple weeks ago.
Right. It's almost
And
like
now,
he knows what to say to go with the hashtag.
Well, he said
it.
He said it and then dropped the single with Travis Scott. Like, it's not brain science when you think of promotional. Like when 50 used to start a fight every time he was doing a release.
Right. I'm gonna drop this song and watch. This is what's gonna happen. The domino.
Yeah, like.
And Kanye is notorious for doing that, doing some political stage ploy to sell albums. He does that every fucking time.
And he's always been controversial. He's always been.
He's been controversial, but the controversy strikes when a drop is coming, whether it's fashion or music. Like, so. Because it's different. Because when you had Jesus, when you had Jesus Walks Kanye, that was authentic. That had 3 different videos to it. That was sparking. He didn't care if he got radio play. He was just passionate about the purpose of that song.
Yeah, no, that first album was incredibly passionate.
Right. Yeah. And he was hungry. And I mean, like, that was him being humble and he just exploded. But if he came out with a Jesus video today, it would not be because of the same passion. It will be because he knows would spark the Jesus controversy. That's the difference. Like, he has learned his controversial stages to trigger people. And like, so even the presidential talks, we're talking about them. I honestly, considering we're in July, I really think, and most people haven't done their research on this, the back end stuff is not in for Kanye. I don't think he can jump in the race this late to really be
conversation
in it.
Yeah, he's just there for conversation.
It's probably another ploy so he can sell albums later this year.
But the problem is, though, this ploy, and I think I saw Glasses Malone say, if I vote for anybody, it would be Kanye. And, you know, Glasses, I've chopped it up with him a few times. Cool dude. But, like, you just basically said you have no intentions of voting unless it's for Kanye. So that means if you go, you're probably going to fill in the ballot and put Kanye West. So even if he's not on the ballot, you've now got people thinking to fill your name in. Therefore, their vote is not going towards someone who can actually become president.
Right. Unless it's so-and-so, we're not voting. So now we got how many more people not voting?
Yep.
And then so-and-so is winning by a landslide because these
people
didn't vote.
If you have 100 people show up and you have 50 people voting for the current president, the other 50 should not have a split vote. If 25 go in and vote for Kanye, that's only 25 for the potential, you know.
Well, I think, like, going into, you know, talking conspiracy wise, there's always been the conspiracy about how votes are, you know, they're played with, you know what I mean?
They're for sure. They don't.
All these people are puppets. They're all part of the same secret societies. They're all
whoever the person is above the president. Whoever the person is above the president is. They already know who's going to be president.
Yeah,
it's all planned out. It's like a map. But
the electoral college and a lot of that stuff, there's a lot more behind the voting process. But still, here's the thing. If we go in there, so everyone knows the electoral college, but I'm just painting a scenario. If we went in there with the same 100 people, right, and 10% voted for Trump by some miraculous way, so you have 90 people who didn't vote for him, and he still became president, that's going to cause a revolt. Because even though people are ignorant and don't understand the electoral college, if you let someone who is extremely undervoted and put them in presidency, it's not going to be received well.
Right.
And no one can take the whole country coming at them. There are already issues with pockets going at once.
And it's not just the whole country that's looking at them too, because you brought up, if you're president and you're like that and you're in the politicians, everybody's looking at you, but you have other countries looking at you. So if you go out and do some shit in another country, it looks bad on America.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If you do
Yeah.
something bad, it looks bad on us. So if Americans go travel to this country, oh, you're an American, we don't like you.
Here's my other comment about that. I feel like Donald Trump has delegitimized the role of the president, period. And that's why we have names like Kanye West and Oprah and all these other names just coming out of nowhere and thinking they can run for president. And what he's done and how he's represented America has really just made us look like a joke, to be honest.
It's the money,
with you.
man.
You know what? One thing that he really showed, you know, when you're in school and stuff, you learn about all the people who can override the president's decision because they have the power, and then he has a certain amount of time that he could override or whatever the case.
Yeah, veto
but,
and all that.
Yeah, the vetoes and all that. But you're looking, Trump really is the president saying, so? Like, if you think about, if you took away his whole script, all he says is so.
What are you going to do about it?
It still does what he wants, right? So when you have, you're not supposed to talk about women like that. So you're not supposed to talk to the mentally challenged like that. So you're not supposed to start racial war. Yeah. You're not supposed to. Every president before him did the unveiling of the previous president in the White House. He said, I'm not going to do it. Everyone's like, well, what can we do? Like, it's a show. Like, I don't want to show Obama's face and do it, whatever. Like, the fact that he has taken in on a deeper level, it could even be showing he probably could have went in the office to make a mockery of the United States to show the power of money.
Right.
You know, like you're completely taking away from everything. I can buy this country.
Right. No, it's already been bought. It's been sold out. America's a corporation.
Right. It's
the people have no more stock in their own country, and that's complete facts. But I think he's an entertainment ploy, and like I said, he's delegitimizing, what the president is, and just saying that, none of it really matters. I can do whatever I want. You don't really have to be a true politician. You don't have to be a nice guy. You don't have to even represent America in a fucking good way. And just putting it on record, I think Trump wins by a landslide in 2020. Landslide. Just
honestly, it's weird, but let's speak hypothetically. Could you imagine if there was like a complete 180 in his presidency? Could you imagine the same way he's showing how money rules the world, I don't think he's been taking a salary as president for these 4 years, right?
Right.
Could you imagine if he got voted in and was like, all right, I'm done playing you guys, and shifted everything around? Like the person because the person, like a lot of people said Trump was, he's rich, but like he's always had black rich friends. Like he never has shown that quote unquote racist side, right? Like, could you imagine if literally he's the opposite of some of the presidents we had? Like they're all in the front, they have the nice demeanor, the perfect posture, and then they do so many things wrong on the back end that we don't see later. What if he became that person to where stuff got written off and just blew people's minds the next 4 years? Like, I kind of feel like at the end of the day, whoever's president is one head on the same neck. Like, stuff's going to get shifted around.
Yeah.
I just kind of am curious to how these 4 years are going to look, because we don't really know. All we can do is assume and try to figure out who's going to do what and do what's best. But right now we're screwed.
My assumption is America's a battlefield the next 4 years.
Yeah, it's a battlefield, but
it's a battlefield.
I always feel there's, it was, even with the conspiracies and things that hold a lot of truth, I always feel there's a deeper reason for a lot of stuff. And the problem is that everyone is a what about me, what about me, what about me? Like, whether it's me personally or my population, my community, my race, my ethnicity, like it's always a what about me factor. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people at the higher levels, you're not even ant-sized to them, so sometimes when things happen and 1,000 get killed off, it's like, that is so cruel. But it's like when they're over millions, 1,000 is a number they're not even thinking about. Like if it got them towards their if it got them to their next goal, that they're heartless in that sense.
Yeah, but they're like, well, hey, 1,000 people died. Well, hey, I'm
People
still
died.
I became president. Like
Yeah, it's like you know, it's a huge analogy in the like I think it was like a saying like, oh, if you were a father and you're like there's a lifting bridge up and you have a choice to save your son or save like the couple hundred people trying to cross, like what's the scenario? Do you let your son die and you save a bunch of people, or do you like I feel that when people are in a certain level of power, that's a constant debate. Like do you start a war over here because of a few situations, knowing a few could die off, but you just saved half of the country? Like it's just, we don't know. I don't know. I just can only think of things, but it's like watching people do things, the stuff behind it. I'm like, it's a bigger picture somewhere. It just sucks when it unfolds a decade after you figure out what's going on. And then you're just kind of like, if you really go back and connect, if you see these hoax shootings, if you see these red flags, if you see this, like you see where it led up to, you just didn't see it when it was happening.
Yeah.
Bro, my ex hit me up the other day and was like, yo, all those conspiracies and shit that you were talking, like I'm seeing it.
No,
It's
really?
fucking making sense. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I was saying that shit like 10 years ago type shit. So,
I'm kind of quiet, but I research, so like
you're a thinker and a learner. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when stuff happens, I see stuff live and then I remember stuff changing, different narratives happening, like whether it's a shooter, whether it's a tragedy, whether it's whatever, I remember some of the news clips that happened live. And then you have stuff like Snapchat map, right? To where you can easily look at the map in real time around wherever you want to. And when things happen, I'll sometimes just open that up and see what everyone with their personal Snapchat stories and cameras have going on before it hits the news, because I know that's in its real state. And then I'm like, all right, I see shifted stories. I see stuff going on. And it's kind of like, after a while, in a realistic stance, you brought up Martin Luther King, Nipsey, Malcolm X, and that type of situation. I know as my platform grows, I have to be careful what I speak out on because I become a target.
Yeah, us too.
But it doesn't decrease the amount of learning I have, or like I'm big on educating my team and those around me. I like sometimes you don't want to go public with a platform, but everyone next to you needs to be informed of stuff, because that way it moves beyond just your own knowledge and thought. Like you start the critical thinking and you start to have other people doing it, and you can move more militant instead of just jumping out to a punch. Yeah,
and your head on a swivel.
Yep, or jumping out to a bunch of people who will do nothing with debate with you because you can't penetrate them because they're not thinking on that level. So it's kind of like you want that higher percentage.
Yep. Yeah. So let's move off topic of politics here. And
this can go forever.
For sure. Because that's a never-ending wormhole for sure.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the music. And
for sure.
You've already spit a bunch of game on this show, and I definitely encourage everybody to go check out your channel, where you spit more game. Let's Talk About Music is what it's called. The music is with a Q, I believe.
Yeah, it's called Let's Talk Music. And if you look at when I did the logo, when I came up with the concept, like for not only for searchability, I wanted music with a Q, but if you look at the logo, it's IQ that's highlighted, right? Because I'm increasing your IQ with music. So like that's why it's Let's Talk Music, because I'm increasing your IQ with talking music. Like that, to me, I feel I haven't had a chance to really dive into some of like the branding behind it. Like I did a couple when I was doing video stuff for it, but as you know, I still make posts. I just haven't done the video thing of it. And that kind of goes to what I was just telling you about the educating the teams. When you're doing marketing and you're doing platforms and you know that you realize the money you have to really put behind it to impact certain levels. Yeah. And I just knew with my efforts, I wanted to make sure those around me were winning as much as possible, including myself, however, but that has been the focus. But I'm like, I use myself as an open resource to I don't want to say everyone all the time, but the stuff I post out is for everyone. But if someone comes to me and they're hungry and they're really interested, I don't exactly turn them away. but I don't do like an hour phone call with someone who's just like, yeah, hey, I want to know something. Like, I kind of keep an eye on who's doing what and just try to see. And I try yeah, exactly. I try my hardest not to. The worst thing in the music industry is to be on the right path of passion, energy, and just be so screwed over that you want to give up because you find out 5 years down the line that you messed up. So if I can kind of detour those along the way and point people in the right direction, and then if they come further, then we could start talking consultation fees and stuff like that. But it's kind of like, I went to school for it. I've sat in the record labels. I'm still learning. I have certain mentors in which, you know, people around me, and I'm always reading and watching interviews and just always like, so if I become that vessel of knowledge, any way that I can help someone, they don't necessarily have to go 4 years to school. You know, they don't have to do that. But to me, there's so much I didn't know, or I knew a little bit because I was interested. But once I found out so much more, I'm like, this is information that the average person is missing out on so much every day, and their careers are going down and they're losing a lot of money. And it's kind of to a point to where, you know, they want it, you know, even though they may not know how they're getting to it, you know, they're passionate about it, or at least are trying to be. They just don't understand how much is needed, why the record labels exist, why the teams around the record labels exist, why all these professionals who do nothing on the creative side know the business side. Because there's so many things you have to know to make things happen. Like, people see music, people see artists, they don't realize you're a product. You know, you are actually a thing that needs to be fully marketed, promoted, pushed. You need to be put on the proper shelves. Like, you need to be positioned. People don't think that. They just think, oh shit, I make a good song, I'm about to win. It doesn't work that way.
No. So go ahead, break down the top three things that, or the top three mistakes that you see artists make on the independent journey, and what are some things that you can do differently, you know, create that detour so you avoid those mistakes?
The number one thing is being a know-it-all. That's the worst thing to be. You can't let the perception of being cocky and arrogant stop you from learning. And in the know-it-all phase, stop falling for the smoke and mirrors. Think of it as being a magician. Like, the audience isn't supposed to know the trick. That's fine. But if you're a magician, do not be fooled by what other magicians are doing. I don't care how much of a status they have. You need to figure out how the trick works. If you're a musician, you need to figure out what these musicians are doing, how they're getting to certain places. Like, you can't just fall for what they're supposed to do for an audience, because not everyone wants to be an artist. But if you do, you can't fall for what the general crowd does. That is like a number one rule. You need to do your research. You need to learn. And the reason why is because you can end up so screwed over. One way to kind of fix that is you have to love what you're doing. So chances are you're a fan. If you're a musician, you're a fan of somebody. At least start with that artist. Start with that artist and dig deeper into their story, how they got to where they are, some of their label situations. If you can find contractual stuff, you know, find out in their interviews, find out their path, because at least you might not want to hear what they're saying, but you're passionate enough about being a fan that you'll listen to it. Like, you know, like, I'm a geek, I'm a music geek, so I'm diving in so many different documentaries. Right. I'm learning stuff, I'm looking at contracts, like that stuff excites me. Not everyone's like that, but they might be like that about an artist. So there's so many independent podcasts, TV shows, and things along those lines to where they've been interviewed and they probably dropped some jewels that apply to them. And from there, you can kind of find things to keep growing on. That's one. For number two, I'd say don't stop. Don't stop being passionate. Don't stop creating. Don't stop trying to figure it out. You'll never have it all figured out. And once you think you have it figured out, you're going to realize, hey, there's still more to learn to it.
Never stop learning. Yeah.
You never stop learning. So whether it's being in the studio and creating as much as possible, I'm not saying go pay for studio time, but pull up different beats, try different things, expand your artistry. Also step outside of just what you're interested in. Like, yeah, you might be one of the dopest rappers in your eyes, but find out some good pop artists, some good rock and roll artists, some good blues artists. You might learn some production. You might see some cool lyrics. You might hear something so different that might inspire and influence the way you move a little differently. That'll make you a better artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For the third thing is realize it's okay to not do it yourself. You can't do everything yourself. As much as you can have the knowledge to do everything yourself, you still only have 24 hours in a day. And the music industry is $1 billion industry, multi-billion dollar industry. There's no way, even though you think you're the first to do this or do that, there's no way you're going to outsmart that much of a calculated industry.
A machine, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to outsmart a machine that's built for it. Yep. I've sat in some meetings that, me knowing what I know, me learning the way I do, I've sat in meetings that blew my mind at the power of the music industry. So you just don't want to ever think, like the discovery factor is not as existent as it used to be. Like you no longer have the record stores, the popular record stores, to where people are coming across your CD has dope artwork. Like you're not having the websites to where your videos are going to randomly get stumbled across and people are going to have a buzz like that. People aren't going to randomly just share your video at such a high number to where it impacts your career. It's calculated.
Right.
Yep.
And if by some chance someone does get that, it's not you. Because even if someone does get that, the move after that has to be calculated. Like you're not just going to stumble upon a bunch of lucky moves that put you in a position to feel like you're winning.
Right. And I think too, the other thing is when you said, don't feel like you can do it all. Don't try to wear too many hats. You know what I'm saying? Like me and AJ, we wear probably too many hats, and we've had this conversation where we were like, we need to, at some point, if we really want to expand, we got to get like a real team of somebody who can do this, and this, so we can do this, and this.
Yeah.
He mixes and masters everything. He went to school for that. I do most of the marketing and learning on that end. We do all our own social media promotion. We make videos. We do our own graphics.
Yep.
But you have to do some of that until you get to a point, but
I feel
don't
like
be afraid to reach out, because we've done that as well.
Yeah.
Like, even though we've made a graphic, I had somebody make a video out of the graphic because he has a different talent than me. You know what I'm saying? I've considered, hey, my editing is not that great. You know what I'm saying? I can do some basic shit, but I'm not going to make next level graphics. Maybe reach out to somebody who can edit the footage, to make a real, like, you need to be open and willing to do that.
I wear a lot of hats. But
I think we all do, but don't be afraid to be like, hey, I need your hat. Here.
Exactly. Like, but
let's build.
The good thing about wearing hats is that you need to be knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't say you have to be a genius, but you have to be knowledgeable.
Right.
At least know what you're talking about when you're talking about it.
Having understanding. Here's another one. I know I'm only supposed to do 3. Here's another random one I'm adding because I can talk all day about, apparently. Wearing many hats will come in handy when you want to take this industry serious. And not because you know how to do the stuff for yourself, but because you can filter the people who are trying to bullshit you. Because a lot of people will try to bullshit you. But if you know stuff ahead of time and you're already knowledgeable in it, you'll know who you can have conversations with. It's no different than speaking. It's like speaking a different language, right? Like you can walk up to someone and they say, hola, ¿cómo estás? That does not mean they know Spanish. The moment they start speaking in Spanish, a lot of people will try to do this in the industry. Yeah. So I've been in studio sessions. I know how to mix. I mean, like I took courses and did mixing stuff back when I was getting my associates, but I prefer not to pursue that. But I do know how to get a really good mix. I know about the EQs, I know about the plugins, I know how to make sure that where the frequency ranges are, I know how to. So when I'm talking to an engineer working on
understanding.
Yeah, so when I'm working with an engineer and he's giving me a bullshit mix, I'm like, yo, all I have to say is something along the lines of, once you drop the mids a little bit on my vocals, they will change their whole position in that chair and get to a royal mix. Other artists are like, I don't care, just however you do it. Like, you get different quality, and you can tell when people knows what you're bringing to the table. Like, if I tell someone to dial back my reverb or don't go that high onto the delay, like, a lot of times they're like, oh, like, you know, I mean, I can't bullshit you to what I'm giving you, you know, like, it's the same thing to where if I go to a videographer and I know how to edit video already, and they're doing some kind of thing, and something as simple as the sync off or the color not being balanced, or them using a green screen and not properly using the chroma key, like, to me,
you know how to use it.
I know how to do it. So
you know
if I'm paying,
like, sure.
So if I'm paying you money, I want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward. Otherwise, I'm going to go to someone else who I know can give me the real service. Because if you're going to half-ass me, I could probably get a better product doing it myself. Yeah. And two, I'm a referral system. Like, a lot of people come to me for stuff, right? So engineers, I ask budgets, I ask locations, like, what do you need? What are you trying to do? Oh, I know this is a dope studio, but they're not big on auto-tune. I know someone over here who's great with vocalists and auto-tune. You probably should go here. Like, so I'm cutting you out my resource level, because if someone comes to ask me about you, I'm like, well, yeah, if you're just starting off, if you're a new MC and you want to do $20 a track, like, yeah, he's cool to go to. Like, I mean, it's exactly. Nothing wrong with him. But if you're telling me, like, you want to get a placement with the song, you about to throw a bag behind it, you having a key feature, I'm not going to send you to that $20 a track guy, because it would ruin you trying to get radio play.
Right. So yeah, no, I agree, because it's like, you know, many different hats. You do what works for you. You know, I wear many different hats as well, but my main thing is fucking my voice, rapping, you know, putting words together and shit. That's my main thing.
For sure.
So once I established that, it was like, all right, same thing. I want to know what the fuck's going on when I'm in the studio.
Yep.
So I went to school. I'm like, you know, fuck this. I'm going to go to school. And just right now, it's all about doing what I can and what I know. Okay, let me mix it how I can and blah, 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 with the sources that I got. But, and then also, like, it's like a great analogy. My mentor always used to tell me in the studio, was like, do you want to make a mixtape or do you want to make a record? You know what I mean? There's a difference between the two. Do you want to make money, or do you just want to, I want to make some music, put it out? Is there a meaning behind it? You know, you're not going to go to a taco place in order and look for a ribeye steak. That's not what you're going to do, because that's not what they specialize in. You're not going to call a pool guy to come work on your car. You know what I mean? So I agree with, like, you just reach out to those people. You know, if you're a pool guy, reach out to a fucking, you know, other somebody that can help you with the car trouble.
And here's the thing, you know, the industry is all about who you know. So if there's a guy up there that plays that hat or has that hat, reach out. You know what I'm saying? Especially
don't be afraid to build with people too.
Your shit to the next level. You know,
build with people. Like, if you're a rapper and you want to build a sound necessarily, and you don't know any producers, but you meet somebody after performing, you're like, hey man, I'm trying to develop a sound. Reach out to that producer, and you guys could build a sound together. You never know.
And be serious though, because successful independent people, that is one of the words and statements they hate the most.
Yeah.
They hate when someone comes up to them and say, let's build. And the reason why I say that is because so many people say that as like a keyword to, hey, let me get something free from you.
Right. I don't want to pay for nothing, but let's build.
Yeah. Like, it's really like a, how can you help me without me giving you any money? Right. But you need to really establish those relationships, like follow up, see what they're doing, actually try to contribute, try to help, how to have a conversation, see where you fit in their puzzle, like see how you can, you know, how you can help. Like, I'm big on I try to offer 7 things of help to someone before I ask for anything. You know, I'm big on that. Like, yeah, we've been a connection for so and so. You do video, okay? Here's an opportunity. Like, do you want to do here? Can you shoot here? Can we do this? I know people are looking for this. Before I even ask for a video, even though I need one, obviously, but it's before I even ask for some help, like, because so many people want to take, like that becomes old. And if you start going up the ladder as being successful independent, a lot of people who aren't going up the ladder kind of feel like you owe it to them because you guys started at the same point. So the level of people trying to take increases, and you just go, no, that's not how it works. Like
they're waiting for you to make it. So
they're waiting for you to make it. Yeah, like because you performed on those same stages, you went to those same studios, you used some of the same beats, like you used the same videographers at some point. But because you elevated it and they didn't, they figure, oh, one of us made it in, now I'm in. That's not how it works.
No. You gotta put in your time. You gotta pay your dues, man.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Like the whole thing with the Let's Build, don't waste people's time, man. You don't want your time to be wasted. Like if somebody reaches out to me and they're like, yo, I need you on this song, let me blah, blah, and I fuck with them. Yeah, bro, if I agree to it, shit, you gonna get that verse back in like 3 days, bro, because I'm serious about it. But there's been times where I'll send a song out, song still ain't never dropped. I ain't never heard a verse to it.
I'm waiting for features right now as we speak.
Yeah, no, that's the way it be, man. We actually episode 5 we talked about collaboration and some of the the pros and cons of that, and that was one thing. Just like so much collaboration just never takes place actually. So there's like only a few ways you can really do it. Like they're live in the studio, get shit done, just make it happen.
Yeah.
Or if like there's like some serious movement behind it, like you guys really fuck with each other and you really want this to happen. But there's a lot of, oh, let's make a track, cool, here's a beat, send me something back. Nothing ever happens.
It's so weird because I honestly try to put my best foot forward as much as possible. I mean, there's times we're all gonna slip being humans, but if someone hits me up for a verse, it's done. Like I have the access to do it at home, give you a clean verse, clean recording. If you want to mix or you just want the stems, like how do you want me to send it? You want it in Pro Tools, you want it in Logic, you want it in Studio One. Like I have options, but that's because I like to deliver. But sometimes I'll ask for features, or I mean just reaching out to people and I'm like, dang, this is the normal practice where people are really delayed on stuff. And I'm like, cause me, I hate from when I actually get a time to work on it, I hate having it be too long that someone's waiting on me. Like, I had it to where like, if I'm actually working on it, I try to get it in 24, 48 hours when I'm working on it. Like sometimes it takes a second to get to it depending on my workload, but I make sure that I do my due diligence to get it back with respect because if I'm writing a verse, I'm not competing with a local level. I'm competing with an M, with a Crooked, with a Royce. Like I'm competing with people on that level. Like, if I'm sending a verse to you, I'm sending it as if you're someone who's already made it. I'm not treating you like someone who should get brushed off. I'm doing industry tactics to where it's like, I feel like we've established ourselves as professionals. You respect me enough to reach out to me. So what I should give you should be nothing less than what I consider quality. I'm not going to cheapskate you. Other people's personalities sometimes are like, well, it's the same with sharing posts. He's not on, he's not here. So I'm not really, my interest level isn't the same. And to me, I feel like that's where we fall as an independent culture.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, man. And through my career and through, just doing the marketing and trying to build with everybody at one point, and then now it's just me and fucking AJ because nobody proved themselves to be about that shit, at the end of the day, except for AJ and myself as a team. So, that's sometimes just the way it is. But we're building, and I really appreciate a lot of your knowledge, man. I do take heed to a lot of it. You post gems all the time. I've watched maybe a dozen of your Let's Talk Music videos, went through almost all of them. So I mean, definitely hit you up. Where can people find you and get your knowledge and your tools and what you offer?
You can hit me directly. You can either go to everything is none_illa for my social.
Okay.
Or you can go to noneilla.com. That's NONEILLA.com. But truthfully, I'm the only none illa, so everything is none_illa, or you can Google none illa. As redundant as that sounds, some people just like to go straight to Google, right? But hit me up. I'm open. If you have any kind of questions, hashtag, you can let's talk music. Music is MUSIQ. But I'm a friendly guy. I'm accessible. Only time I'm not accessible is if I have a very good bullshit detector, you know. So if I feel like my time's going to be wasted, I will always point you in the direction of my stuff. Like, but I'm not going to just
waste my time when I know it's going to be wasted.
You know, I have family members who figure I'm Hollywood because they can't get a hold of me to sit 2 hours with them to talk about how I can put them on. And it's not a level of disrespect. It's just that I respect my own time and value it that much. Like, you know, like I have a lot to do, you know, if not, I'm chilling with my family. Like I don't have time to waste because I'm still trying to grow as well. Like I'm not stopping growth. So it's kind of like, if we're going to work, reach out to me. If you need insight, reach out to me. If I don't give it to you, I can at least tell you where to go to get it, you know, or at least say, hey, I can do simple temperature checks with artists. I can ask them questions and realize where they are or where they strive to be.
So
just
who's
real
really
quick.
About this shit and who's really not. Yeah, for sure.
Real quick, without even.
I can testament to that too, man. I've hit you up maybe like once before this. You know what I'm saying? We've kind of interacted a little bit, but I hit you up for a podcast and you were all about it. We even had like a little incident where we couldn't make it happen earlier, but here we are today.
We made it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I'm literally out.
And you made it lucky number 7,
you know?
episode lucky number 7 , bro.
There we go. And I mean,
but you've probably seen enough from me to know, like, all right, you know, this guy's about his shit. Like, I want to do this podcast. Let's make it happen. You know.
I mean, like, I'm out on vacation right now, so just let you know, like,
where are you at anyway? Don't like drop us, but what are you doing on vacation, man?
I'm in Arizona. Just stepped away for a little bit. Just came out to the resort and just, you know, kind of get a little bit of wait time. Like the internet wasn't the best for video chat on the actual laptop, so I just pulled out my cell phone and made it happen. And to me, it's about getting the job done. Like, people ask what I do, people ask specifics, and I'm like, I'm a creator, but I ultimately focus on getting the job done. You know, if we're in the studio, I can be on the song, I can songwrite, we can do graphics, we can do video, you know, it could be a documentary. Like, point is, we want to complete something. Like, we want to make sure that's what we do and we finalize something. Like, it's easy to fall in the hole in the pattern of never completing something or never following through or just not being about it. You know, I want less of that for the independent scene. Like, if you want to be successful, you have to start, no matter the quality. Just start and you can improve and you can get better.
It's funny, me and AJ are both Aries, and that's one of the things about the Aries thing is that we're great at fucking starting shit.
Yeah.
Really bad at finishing shit. But this is one thing that we've just stuck to the whole
But the best
time,
thing about being an
so.
Aries is eventually the shit gets done. Eventually you're just like,
it gets
all
done.
right, boom, boom.
What's
like
your
it's
sign,
in moderation. It's in moderation.
Hey, I'm a Scorpio.
Scorpio?
So like, yeah, like my
passion
for sure is like never ending. And the thing is, I'm calculated in the sense of like, oh, I know something needs to really be pushing, but I really like to fulfill a purpose in the music stuff. Like, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, if you want to talk bars and rapping, I could do songs and out bars. I got so many songs sitting on my phone, just cipher verses or just random stuff I was writing that probably could blow some minds. But when you learn what you know and your knowledge increases, you're like, why would I even just throw that out on such a large amount just to randomly throw stuff out when I probably can help change someone else's, put energy towards changing someone else's life and career, or, you know, boosting up to a point to where it means something. I'm more of a like, okay, I just want to contribute and do something the right way. You know, let's continue pushing forward that. Like, you can either be someone who drops 1 million songs and they never get heard, but it's positive, or you can, you know, jump up the ladder and place it where it counts when it counts to make an impact. And that's just currently the path I'm on.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, go check out that path because he's a seriously talented MC.
No, yeah, much respect, brother. This is the first time me and you were meeting, so, you know, off the
yeah,
top,
yeah,
man, much respect, brother. Yes.
No, but
And you know,
I told AJ too. I'm like, bro, you're gonna love this guy. Like, this guy knows his shit. He's really about it, and you're gonna learn from him. And we're, it's awesome, man.
You know what's crazy? I forgot this is a perfect example. Look, live. I try to be no filter with it. I forgot I'm supposed to be finalizing a book I'm writing. So I'm supposed to. I think I got to be doing that at some point in the next few days.
There you go.
So it's kind of like, if you want it to happen, it'll happen. AJ, make sure you can go ahead and add me on Facebook or whatever. Like, you can chop it up with me. Like, my thing is building a network and being able to put the pieces together, because without each other, we're not going to be able to hit the industry how we want to and impact those around us.
Yeah,
it's hard to do it individually. Like, you can be independent, but you got to build it.
You look at the world around us, man. Not one person built this shit. You know what I'm saying? It took all of us, billions of us, over a long time to really achieve whatever it is we said we wanted to achieve. So I mean,
for sure,
we do need each other in this game, and that's what Rebel Underground is, and that's what your platform is. Like, we're an outlet, man. I share artists all the time on our network. I provide I built an indie artist toolkit, which is a bunch of really amazing information that I just compiled, and I'm just like, here, like, this is the shit you guys need to know.
And it's crazy because it's not only to help us or help you as a person, it's to help everybody. Hey, man, I came across this shit. Yep. Y'all should see this shit.
Well, you know what? Like, I personally feel when you're a teacher, when you're growing, right? When you're teaching people and helping people, it helps you as much as it helps them.
Oh, yes.
And you're not a master of something complex until you can explain it simply.
Right.
It has to.
That's
like,
facts.
You can't. And if you can't explain it to the average person, you're not a master of it yet.
And that's what politicians and leaders are great at, to be honest.
Yep.
They're good at taking a very complex idea, something that's like, whoa, and simplifying it, and be like, yes, that's right. We need to do that.
Yeah.
That's what their main talent
is. No, that's the main talent of the teams around them. Back to needing a team.
True.
There's very few who actually know how to decipher and get to that point. But the same thing is at the end, like, it doesn't matter how you get it is what matters, but how you understand it defeats all that. So that's what these kind of things do. I think you still need to send me that the indie guide too. I know about it. I know we had talked about it, but I don't think I actually ever got a copy of it. So I got to get one of those from you, just to keep on my level of resources to send to the right people and stuff. So
it's got a lot of like personal resources in it too. It's not just like
for sure.
Some of this stuff is stuff that you could Google and probably find. You know.
I probably know. I mean,
everything in this. You know everything in this thing. Like,
I meant so I can push it to other people. Like, I like to make sure when it comes down to it, if someone comes to me like, I don't have time to download everything I know to someone, I'll sit down and have a couple meetings and try to figure out what people need. But sometimes you do need to say, look, just go here. Just go here. Just
here, run through this, and if you got any questions.
Exactly. Then hit me back up.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you do in college too. I'm actually a teacher. I legit teach history, and you made up some good points about like teaching. And being able to understand and convey that stuff, and being a resource for knowledge and stuff like that. So
definitely. And the person that comes to you, they have to want to learn. You know what I mean? You could lead a horse to water, but that doesn't mean they're going to learn.
And that's kind of how I make sure. That's what I was saying. Like, I kind of figure out who people are before I even
by asking questions.
Yeah,
some people, first 5 minutes, you're like, all right, I know what this guy's about. I know what he's trying to do.
Yeah, like, it's not even like those who I keep around me in general, like, they know almost at any time. They know I don't sleep. I try to limit the calls I get like at 2-3 o'clock in the morning because I'm in a creative state. But point is, they know they hit me up, and it doesn't matter what level they are at. Some are at a point where they're trying to figure out something. Some people are sitting around platinum artists on a regular and platinum producers on a regular. But to me, it's kind of like, I still get called. I help out where I can, even if we're just having a conversation of catching up. Sometimes we're educating one another, and then to me, that's the power. That's the power of relationships, right? That's the power of networking, because you can learn from everyone. You can learn from people who are even below you in any kind of sense. So it's like, never put off a conversation, but we have 24 hours. I don't have time to entertain everyone's hour phone call. And you can just tell by the beginning of it, the path in which you don't want to go down in a conversation.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So I guess with that, I think we've covered all the topics we wanted to hit today. I just want to thank you, man, for coming on the podcast,
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
especially
Appreciate you, man.
with
Appreciate
the
you.
delay and stuff. But this is one of our best episodes, I would say, man, just because of the amount of knowledge that has been out there, and we really had some diverse opinions. So again, thank you for coming on. Everybody check out his new music video that just dropped. It's on YouTube, A Word with God. And stay on the lookout for him. Also check out his channel, Let's Talk Music. There's a hashtag in front of that, I believe. And it's spelled with a Q. So definitely check that out. Thank you, man. Appreciate your knowledge and your expertise and joining us, and enjoy your vacation.
All right,
yeah,
thank you,
man.
man. Yeah, y'all know if you need me, just holler at me and I can move
No doubt,
some stuff
man.
around
We'll
to
be
make
in
some
touch,
stuff
man.
happen. All right, for sure.
All right,
Much
man.
love.
Thank
Yep.
you. Have a good one.